Okay, this is part two of our photo collage. We're going to start off um, with this image right here that shows us where basically we're headed. A couple more things we're going to add. There's another object we're going to bring into the image. I'm going to use layer mask to give the effect that this bird is on the horizon right here. I'm going to mask out part of this bird's feathers without erasing it and making permanent changes. And then another thing is we're going to add some text into our image and possibly some effects to make that text stand out a little bit without being too overpowering. So I'm going to head back to where we were. Here we are, just about there. So got my other image open. Find another image that you might have that you can select at least one single object, something of interest that you want to add to your collage. Here I've already got the image selected. Got the used my quick selection tool, brushed around my subject here, this raven, and I'm not going to alter it right here. Instead, what I'm going to do is move this first and then see if I need to make any alterations on the collage itself. So I've got my move tool selected. My image is selected, and so it's only going to take the object that I chose with my quick selection tool. I'm going to take this and drag it and drop it right over here. And this is pretty common to happen when you start to enlarge an image or move an image from another one. You'll see this kind of quality of bad quality image start to happen. Very pixelated, looks pretty crummy. A lot of times if you hit enter, it'll clear right up, and that worked out just fine for this. So what I want to do, the effect that I'm going for, and what you're going to end up doing is figuring out how to work with the layer mask in your collage. What can you do to make this image look like it's part of the background somehow? So, if I wanted it to be behind her, that's not a big deal. I can simply take this layer and drag and drop it behind it, and there, it's behind there. It's behind her now. And I kind of like that. So I'm going to keep that there, but at the same time, what I'm going to do is make a little change to this bird. It's kind of dark in the corner over here, so what I want to do is, it's another adjustment that you can possibly make, is invert this image. So now it kind of brightens up the corner, adds a little bit more interest and focus over here. This one is also pretty dark, but there's enough detail in here that I think it gets you looking over here and checking out that corner. So these are all adjustments and things that you're going to have to take into consideration when making up your collage. Do you have any kind of dead spots in your image that could be brightened up or adjusted in some way to get more attention? So I've got this. I think that's bright enough. What I want to do now is add a layer mask to this layer. So I'm going to click on this right here, right next to our FX little button that we used before. Clicking on that, there's a layer mask. What I need to do is be able to see exactly where that horizon goes behind the bird, so I know exactly what to mask out. So I want to hide that bird behind, part of that bird behind this horizon. We'll lower it like this so I can see a little bit more detail of the horizon. I'm going to zoom in. Move this over so I can get a better idea of what I'm going to edit out. Now I've got my brush. Remember, working with the layer mask, you brush on black. It's going to kind of dissolve this layer so that you can see the layer below it. Got my adjustments made here. I'm going to start brushing. Get all the big parts first. And I'll adjust to a smaller brush to get more of the details. Alright. Now the good thing about a layer mask is that these changes are not permanent. If I made a mistake, or if I brush through too much, I can switch over with the white and brush it right back. Kind of see how it brings back that part of the bird. So later, if I decided, hey, this is really not a good place for this this bird to be, I can bring back all the details of it and move it someplace else. Once I start adding more images, or if you add more images, you might decide that that's not the best placement for it. You don't have to worry about starting all the way over, because you can recover anything that you brushed away with the layer mask. I'm just trying to get a little bit of detail of the feet. I know I'm not going to get it exact, but just enough where I zoom out, it'll make some sense here. Now, I'll zoom out. It's pretty good selection made there. Now I kind of have the effect that this bird is kind of resting on the horizon. It's kind of something a little surreal, but I like the way that looks. Last thing I'm going to do is apply some text. You can see in this image right here. Took some text, took a quote from a Beatles song and wrote it out, and adjusted the size, adjusted the font style of this, and then added an effect, because I wanted you to be able to read it, but at the same time I didn't want it to be just scrawled really brightly across the whole image, and so you don't notice anything else. So there are a few effects that I've added to this, and even changed a blending mode on it as well, so that it kind of blends in with some of the background. So here I go. I'm going to start with my text tool. It's the one that looks like a T over here in your toolbar, and click out here. I've already decided which style I want to work with, the size that's going to work with my text. You can choose the color that you want to work with. There's other effects. You can decide if you want your image to arc or do these different types of shapes. It all depends on how it's going to fit in with your image, so I'm going to leave that up to you guys. 3D, I'm not going to get into that. That's just a little too much, a little more than what I want to start off with. So I'm going to start typing out my quote here. I even chosen the way that mine is writing out is it's going off to the left, because I have it going to align with this side of my my canvas. So I'll eventually move my quote over so that it kind of lines up with this edge. There's kind of a big space right here that I think could use some filling, so I'm going to put my text right over that. Alright, so you notice that if I want to start a new line, I'll just hit enter and it will bump down so I can create a new line. Otherwise, if you don't do that, if you don't have an idea of how much text you want in each line, then you might have to do a new text layer for each line of text that you're adding on. Let's see, where was I? Alright, so now I've gotten that written out. I'm going to use my move tool to take this text, move it over so that it fits right along the edge over here. Now you can see that some of it kind of disappears. I can raise this up above my top layer, but I still lose some of that text there. So what I want to do is I'm going to add a little effect to it. So I'm going to go back down to my effects tab. The effect that I want to add to this, because it's black, I'm going to add an outer glow. And actually I'm probably not going to adjust it too much, but you can affect this or change this kind of like you can with a drop shadow. But I want to leave it pretty light like this. And one more thing, just so it kind of fades in and out with the background and the image up here in the front, I'm going to change my blending mode, and this might vary depending on what kind of images or what color text that you're working with. I'm going to go to hard mix, so now I can read it and it kind of fades out, but I can still read it inside the image here. Alright, so that is pretty much all I'm going to add into this collage. Some things that you're going to have to consider as you're building up your collage is what's going to be your main interest, what's going to be your focal point. You might want to make some changes in size or scale and color to make your main image stand out among the rest, and the other images will be there using different effects as well. This is kind of the basics of doing some effects, some layer masking, some blending modes, different tools that you guys haven't used yet. So I want y'all to practice this with your own images, and then you're going to end up creating your own personalized photo collage from your own images in the end. So thank you for watching.